We have here one of Saint Martin's latest releases, and to be honest, I'm a bit conflicted. Is it a great watch? Well, definitely. Does it have problems? Well, you bet. So, why do I think it is one of the best Saint Martin's timepieces to date? Well, we have it here. Let's talk about it. Hello and welcome back. I have Saint Martin SN0138 model. I actually have two of them, and it has, in my opinion, almost perfect proportions. So as I was waiting for this 37mm version to arrive, I was wondering, what did Saint Martin do on this 37mm case to differentiate it from its 39mm relative? Well, as it turns out, Saint Martin did have a few things up its sleeve to make this watch quite special, and it's not just a smaller and probably more trendier size. So, if it is so good, what are the problems that I referred to at the start? Well, we'll get to them in the due course as we delve deeper into the details of this timepiece. And before we get further into this review, a quick disclaimer: Saint Martin shop on AliExpress kindly sent me this watch for review, and I don't have to send it back. On my part, as usual, I'll bring to your attention a full and comprehensive review of this watch, and of course, all the necessary links to the product listings will be in the description of this video. Despite being quite an obvious homage, there are a number of things that Saint Martin did to this watch to spice it up. It actually reminded me in some way of Saint Martin 6200 model, a very popular homage to vintage Rolex that I reviewed some time ago. Now, this watch has similar vintage aesthetics, and yet it feels modern and more refined. I really like the choice of color on this model. Saint Martin classified it as matte black, but it is actually more a rich matte gray color, which I think works really well with the gilded engraving on the bezel and gilded framing of the hands and hour markers on the dial. And by the way, Saint Martin also offers this watch in blue colorway too. In terms of other interesting design choices, we don't get rivets on the bracelet here, unlike on Tudor watch that Saint Martin draws its inspiration from. I like the simplicity of Saint Martin's implementation here, however, I'm okay either way. Would you rather prefer a riveted bracelet here? Well, do let us know in the comments. And of course, we get Saint Martin's brilliant clasp with on-the-fly adjustment, which I've really learned to appreciate after wearing this watch for a week in preparation for this review. So, looking at dimensions, we have, as promised, 37mm case. The coin edge bezel actually measures slightly wider, 37.9mm. We have 20mm lugs width and lug-to-lug distance of 45.7mm. All excellent proportions, so far so good. However, the case height is 12.9mm, which, I'll be honest, is somewhat higher than I expected. Okay, some of that height is in this nice dome sapphire crystal, and the well-sculpted lugs make the case comfortably sink into the wrist. However, the 39mm version, which has the same water resistance and the same movement, is measured 12.1mm, which is almost 1mm thinner. And as long as we're comparing things, the actual Tudor BB54 is even slimmer at 11.24mm. All these comparisons, of course, are purely academic, because this 37mm Saint Martin is very comfortable on the wrist and easily slides under the shirt cuff. However, I don't see any particular reason why Saint Martin couldn't make this case a bit slimmer. And you probably guessed it, this is my gripe number one, a minor one, but gripe nevertheless. As for the rest of the dimensions, we have an elegant bracelet taper down to 16mm at the clasp. The full bracelet should cover wrists up to 8¼ inch or 21cm in circumference, and this diver weighs 147 grams and 136 grams after adjusting it to my about 7-inch wrist. We have here full stainless steel construction. The finishing on the case is excellent. The case facets are crisp and transitions are well machined. I like that Saint Martin keeps the amount of mirror polish surfaces to a minimum and employs quality satin brushing on most areas. This approach not only helps to hide the potential future scratches, but also doesn't collect fingerprints. Despite the satin brushing on top and on the flanks of the case still exudes that premium shine, and the high polish chamfers that run along the sides of the case further adds to visual complexity. The visual aesthetics of the case is accentuated by absence of the crown guards and by well-sculpted sign screw-down crown. Somewhat unsurprisingly, there is not much to see on the screw-on back of the case, and as I mentioned earlier, Saint Martin declared 200 meters of water resistance here. Very practical indeed. Looks like by now Saint Martin has pretty much perfected the case and bracelet finishing, but we can say similar things about some other brands on AliExpress in the same price segment too. However, where Saint Martin does stand out is the case bracelet integration. Practically on all the Saint Martin watches that I came across, the end links fit the case lugs really well. And it is not different on this watch here. The solid inverted end links have very similar brushing and fit nice and flush with the lugs. The rest of the links on the bracelet are also solid stainless steel and have quality satin brushing on the outside and mirror polished sides. The links are connected by screws and the tolerances are really good. We also get here Saint Martin's fully milled clasp with on-the-fly adjustment, possibly my favorite clasp on the sub-$1,000 watch. The on-the-fly adjustment mechanism is reliable and is easy to operate, and it provides almost 1 cm of length flexibility, which is very handy. And for my wrist, for example, I can either set it to a snug fit above the bone or to a fully loose fit for a hot day, below the bone so to speak, and of course anything in between. Saint Martin decided to play safe here, and we get probably the most used automatic mechanical movement by Merkur brands, Japanese Seiko NH35. It is one of the most popular movements for a good reason, due to its dependability and reliability. It is a 3 Hz movement, that is, it beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour. It also hacking and hand-windable and has about 40 hours of power reserve. One thing to point out here though, it is an NH35 movement and it has a date function, which means we get a ghost position on the crown because there is no date function on the dial. Not a big deal, I have so many watches that have similar behavior and it has never been an issue. However, it would be nice if Saint Martin went with an H38 movement here, which does not have a date complication and therefore wouldn't have a ghost crown position. Okay, moving on to the crystal, we have a really good double dome sapphire crystal here with effective anti-reflective undercoating. The crystal is very clear and it deals with direct bright light very well and keeps the dial nice and legible at pretty much any viewing angles. And before we inspect the dial and have a look at that delicious lume, let's take a closer look at the bezel. As I mentioned at the start of this review, I really like this matte grey tone of the bezel. It is a ceramic insert bezel and the matte finish is apparently achieved by bit blasting process. It creates somewhat understated tool-like backdrop for the gilded markers and the red triangle with the lume peep. The bezel has a coin-edge grip, which is also finished well and provides plenty of traction. It is 120 click unidirectional bezel. Bezel action is very decent, the clicks are tactile and reassuring, and there is very little if any backplay. The bezel alignment, as you can hopefully see on camera, is also spot on, which is great. What is not so great, however, is the bezel resistance. It is a bit on the light side for my liking. Okay, I wore this watch for a week and at no point this was an issue. I mean, at no point did bezel accidentally moved. However, it is noticeable and it would be better if the resistance was a bit higher. And you probably guessed it, this is my second gripe with this watch. Nevertheless, as I just mentioned, the bezel action is pretty decent, and here is how it sounds. The dial is done in a very similar dark matte grey color as the bezel, which also works very well with the printed gilt minute track and wording around 6 o'clock marker. We have applied logo and applied hour indices, which are filled with C3 superluminova lume. Hands are also done in gilt color and are well finished, and together with the high polished frames of the hour markers create a nice light play when rays hit the dial at certain angles. And similar to our markers, the hands are also well filled with lume. I must admit, I was pleasantly surprised by the amount and quality of lume Saint Martin applied here. It is quite generous even by Saint Martin standards. As we can see on the lume footage, it easily maintains good brightness even after 15 minutes, and from my experience with this watch, it lasts well into the night. So what's my verdict? Well, the combination of well-sculpted case, inverted end links and comfortable bracelet makes this 37mm timepiece a lovely wearing watch. Due to its slightly smaller size and well-managed lug-to-lug distance of under 46mm, this watch would suit pretty much most wrist sizes, and it is a great-looking timepiece too, with plenty of lume to boot. Okay, as I covered earlier, there are a couple of areas that I would consider for potential improvement. the case height and somewhat light bezel resistance. However, neither would be a deal breakers for me. And at the time of making this video, this watch being offered for just over $200, I think represents a pretty competitive deal. What are your thoughts? Well, do let us know in the comments. However, if you still insist on 39mm sized Tudor homage, then check my review over here. And as always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to do all the important YouTube stuff, like and subscribe, and of course hit that notification bell. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.